So, where I am in the world, it is about 5 o'clock in the morning. I actually started trying to make this stream probably about half an hour ago. You can hear traffic going by. Sorry about that. I have the window open. It's still dark outside. Um, where you are, depending on what state you're in, is probably, let's see, 5, 6, 7. It's probably 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, whatever. I don't even know if anybody is in this in this stream, and it actually doesn't matter. Um, this morning, I woke up about 4:30, as I will tend to do. I tend to go to bed a little earlier sometimes. At least I try to. And I woke up about, well, it wasn't 4:30. It was well before that, because I started trying to do this at 4:30 and then had to keep figuring it out. Um, but I woke up and I went to my notifications, as I will tend to do, and I saw a video that Brother Z did. It's called "The Queen is Dead, Long Live the King," and the brother said in the brother said in 2.5 minutes what I tend to take like 2.5 hours to say. Um, I was going to just put a comment on the video, but I was like, yeah, I have to. Well, I don't have to get up and talk about, but I wanted to get up and talk about, because what he said was so on point. And Brother Z tends to be on point, as with anything. He would, I don't agree with 100% of everything that he says, and he wouldn't agree with 100% of everything I say. But typically, just as his queen, Sister Ajali, says, they tend to be on point. And basically, what he was talking about was the fact that in the succession of these rulers and the power structure, and it's not just talking about the UK, in these successions, they make sure that they retain power. And you have all these people running around, dancing, singing, celebrating, and so on. But it is as I have often said, and as my beautiful, brilliant Black wife, Angela, has said so many times. We do all this celebrating. We do all this uh, um, getting excited and taking to social media when we feel like we got a quote unquote win. But their structure, their systems remain 100% in place. And I often talk about the fact that after one of these race soldier cops ends up being convicted for murdering one of our people in cold blood, we immediately jump on YouTube and immediately jump on Twitter and Facebook and so on. Oh yeah, Chauvin went to jail. So and so got however many years, and There was justice for whoever. And while we're doing all this celebrating, we're not paying attention to the fact that their system is still 100% still intact. And ironically, maybe even more powerful or stronger because they made that sacrifice. We often hear people talk about, this is chess, not checkers. And it is. I play chess. Uh, Most black people, believe it or not, play chess. There's the young man lives right next door to me, and Angela and I came home and we like looked over in the window. We don't go spying people's windows, but we just happened to see over in his window because he's right next door, and he has a chess set up, and he's a black young man. Black people play a lot of chess. The stereotypes would have people believe that we don't play chess, we don't read it, whatever. But I'm getting off track. In chess, many times you will sacrifice. It's loud out here for this early this morning. I apologize for the stuff and the noise in the background. But when you're playing chess, the idea or the object is to win the game. If this would be impossible in chess, but I'm just saying, if you were to take like every one of my pieces off the board, or if I was to take all yours, I was to take all your pieces off the board, all of them, except your queen and your king, or your rook and your king, or your knight and your king, and everything else was gone. Now I have to say this: in chess, that would be impossible. What I'm about to say, unless of course you could get the person into a stalemate, which is a kind of win in that situation. But you, as my opponent, only have your king and your knight, and I'm sitting here gloating because I still have almost all my pieces, and all you have is a king and a knight. But then somehow you find a way to put me in checkmate, even with all my pieces on the board, even with you only having a king and a knight. Um, Again, that's pretty much impossible in chess. But I'm just saying, my point is that while I'm celebrating taking your pieces off the board, you actually come, and with the few pieces that you have, because you purposely sacrificed all your other pieces, you won the game. You won the game. And that's what happens when we see, me personally, when I see like quote unquote so-called justice for our people, like yet another one of our people gets gunned down the street, and then a few cops go to prison or whatever. My opinion is like, yeah, one down, 12 million to go. I guess it's something for the family, but I never talk about getting justice for someone who's dead. You can't get justice for someone who's dead. You can't do it. You can't get justice for someone who's been murdered. Justice is if they're still walking around and living life and breathing. That's justice. But just someone going to prison uh, for doing something to someone, you. Yes, and I repeat myself often. That's not justice. You can't get justice for someone who's dead. You may be able to get some solace, a form of solace for the family of the person who was murdered. but you can't get justice ever when someone's been murdered. That said, what Brother Z said, just like I said, he said in 2.5 minutes what it takes me 2.5 hours to say. He was explaining that these people have structures in place and they have successions in place. And it's kind of like a freaking hydra. You cut off one head and three grow back in its freaking place. And we're out here celebrating. We're out here celebrating. And their structures are 100% in place. And the reason that I said that in some cases it's even stronger is because it works like a release valve, where you have something that's under pressure, and then it's under so much pressure and it's about to explode, and then all of a sudden, and then they can just start all over again. Peace to you, love like the sun, and peace, Sister Ajali. How are you? Let me see. Beloved, we're listening, even though we're about to head out. Oh, bless you. I was just talking about what I heard on Brother Z's share this morning. And by the way, subscribe to Brother Z's channel. It's 25,000 Year Cycle here on YouTube. He is a mighty brother. He has his head screwed on right. And the reason that you know that he's talking right is because his subscribers are low. That's how you know he's talking right. Okay, so go on over there and subscribe. Go to 25,000 Year Cycle. I'm saying this now that Sister Ajali's here just made me think about it. When you go to 25,000 Year Cycle, I'll just put it like this: there's a wealth of information there. There's a wealth of assistance there, and also you can purchase Sister Ajali's books at a discount. This Black Nation and Furnace of Affliction. There is significant discount from what's on Amazon, and plus you can get them signed too. But the books are also on Amazon if you want to go there. So that was that plug. I guess I'll plug Melanin later. Melanin is my novel, and I also have one that's on what's called Kindle Vella, and Vella is it's a platform where you can publish episodes of stories, even shorter than chapters, and it's kind of like watching a television show. Anyway, I'll go back to that later. I didn't want to really get into all that. But while we're celebrating, and again, to me, the whole thing of celebrating the death of Queen Elizabeth, and and even someone like a Darren, I think it's Darren Chauvin, going to prison and all that. The power structure remains in place, and once that release of pressure is done, it leaves the system even stronger because you're not as angry anymore. You're not as fed up anymore. And even worse, the reason I hate when we get a quote unquote win in the court system, or whatever seeming win in the court system, is because it makes you think, and this is by design, by the way, it makes you think the system will work for you. It makes you think, it keeps you in it. It keeps you in it, thinking that, see, we can get justice. We can go, and the system will work for us. We have to go by the law. We need to get the law. The law wasn't created for you. When the law was created, you were in chains. The Constitution wasn't created for you. The Bill of Rights wasn't created. None of this was created for you. What in the world? How are you a citizen of a country in which special laws and provisions have to be created just so that you can live in it? Answer me that. And so when we celebrate, I get it because I think that I believe that just like with Breonna Taylor, I believe that something needs to happen to people who do things, who go and murder our people. Something needs to happen to. That's not even what I'm not even debating that. But what I am saying is that if and when something does happen to them, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted and start thinking that we've gotten some kind of justice. And worse than that, don't sit around thinking that the system is because the law works for us or on our behalf. Actually, when I'll use the term for want of a better term, actually, when our people get justice, it's in spite of the system, not because of it. It's in spite of it. Once a person, especially a black person, goes into a courtroom for whatever reason, but say it's a criminal case and they're the one on trial, whether they actually did anything or not, whether they're actually guilty or not, has zero to do with whether they get convicted. It's the same. It's the same for rich white people. Whether they're guilty or not has zero to do with whether they get convicted. Look at the man who murdered Emmett Till. Guilty as sin, and they freaking walked because their guilt or innocence had nothing to do with what happened in that courtroom, because it's not even about that. That's what we're taught. We're taught that justice is blind. We're taught that the police are there to protect and serve. They have it on the side of their freaking cars. While they the irony of it, while someone's sitting with their knee on your neck, killing you, or their boot on your back, or plugging you full of holes, right beside it, in the same frame of the picture, you can see on their car door, to protect and serve. To protect and serve who? If your foundational premise is off, or if your foundational premise is erroneous, then anything that comes from that premise is going to be just as erroneous, if not more so. If you believe that the police are here to protect and serve, if you believe that justice is blind, then nothing, and I mean this in literal terms, literally nothing that they do or the system does is ever going to make any sense to you. Ever going to make sense. And that's because your foundational premise is off. And I hear it all the time. I hear it all day. Thank you, love like the sun. Yeah, Angela's still in bed. It's early here. It's like I said at the beginning, it's about 5 o'clock in the morning. It's a little bit after that now. And I'm not gonna have it stream too long, because we usually go and take a walk on the beach about 5:30 or a little bit before 6. Anyway, to get that morning sun. Anyway, I hear it all the time. People are trying to figure out, well, if you're here to protect and serve, then why are you murdering us? Why are you doing this to us? Why are you doing that to us? Why are you profiling us? Da, 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 da. That's because your foundational premise is off. Your foundational premise is that they're here to protect and serve. But shift the paradigm and change your foundational premise to this. They're here to terrorize us, to murder us, and to put us in cages. Now, imagine that on the side of their door. Whenever you see a cop car and it says to protect and serve on it, in your mind, let it make it say to terrorize, murder, and put Black people in cages. And then suddenly, everything they do will make sense. Everything they do will make sense. When, let's see, viewing YouTube, Peace, I see you in here. They are very good at conditioning us to believe their platitudes, such as protect and serve. It's a psychological battle that Black people have to fight daily. It's easy to get lulled to sleep. That's absolutely true. I'm just as much a victim of it as anybody else. How can you not grow up in a system of white supremacy and not be affected by it or touched by its stench, or have it have its stench on you? So yeah, and that's the thing. Like I said, if you just change in your mind so that on the car door you see what I just said on there, then suddenly everything they do will make sense to you. But as long as you're holding in your mind, they're here to protect and serve. And I hear people yelling it while the cops are attacking them. No, you're supposed to be here to protect and serve. I have literally heard some of our people yelling that, like on videos, when the cops are like beating them and doing things. And I'm like, dude, I want, and I can't remember who said it. I wish I could, because I'd like to give them credit for the quote. Maybe they didn't even say it first, but I once heard a woman, she was talking about organizations, and she said, if you want to find out what the goals of an organization are, hold on, I'm about to drink some water. She said, if you want to know what the goals of an organization are, never, ever pay any attention to their mission statement, nor do you ever pay attention to what they say that their organization is for. If you want to know what an organization is about, then look at what their consistent outcomes are. That's right. That literally, that's all you want to pay attention to, is what their consistent outcomes are. And if you see what the consistent outcomes of an organization are, then you will see what the actual purpose and goals of that organization is. And I thought that was one of the most profound, eye-opening things I ever heard anybody say, because we tend to go with people's mission statements. A mission statement to protect and serve is a mission statement. That's what they say that they're here for. But what are your outcomes? Your outcomes are that you're murdering unarmed Black people at random with impunity. You're throwing people in jail, Black people in jail, whether they're guilty or not. You're profiling us. You're following us down the street, running our tags, without us knowing. And you're doing all this stuff, you're policing all right, but not in a positive way. And these are your outcomes. What are the outcomes of the so-called criminal justice system that says that the justice is blind and all this? What are the outcomes? What are the outcomes of the United States who sets itself up as a beacon and a light to the world? But yet they go around terrorizing everybody. We're a beacon and the United States is a beacon and a light to the world is the mission statement and what they say. What are the outcomes? You go in every place that you can that has resources and bombing the crap out of innocent men, women, and children, bombing the crap out of it. And you've launched so much stuff in the freaking space, which every European and westernized country has done. Launching so much crap and space junk out into space that now it's obstructing your view of space, and that's why you have to send these telescopes out past the atmosphere. So you got your mission statements, but what are your outcomes? What are you actually doing? That was so again, that was just so profound, and it helped me to get a better understanding of what's going on around me. Because just as with everyone else, or like everybody else, I was taken in. I was as a matter of fact, for the longest time, I was like 100% bought in. Conservative Republican. I was Candace Owens before Candace Owens was Candace Owens. That's just the truth of it. And now, well, no, I take that back. I couldn't have been Candace Owens. Number one, because I'm a guy, but number two is because I actually believed it. The stuff that she says, she doesn't even believe her own BS. But I was talking like her, and I believed it. And I say that to my shame, kind of. But now I'm getting to where I'm not even ashamed of it anymore. And I'm not ashamed, not because I wasn't wrong, which I was. I'm not ashamed because I'm like, wait a minute. I was raised in this twisted, effed up system of white supremacy, and I bought it hook, line, and sinker, like a lot of our people do. And all of us have levels of dysfunction to greater or lesser degrees. As Black people, you almost can't help it because of being raised in this crap. And viewing YT said, good point. Nonprofits are one of their most useful tools of manipulation. Corporations are worse, though, I'd say. Corporations will have mission statements that include an expectation to support their community, quote unquote, community, to support, quote unquote, their community. But at the end of the day, it's just about profits and upholding the social status quo. Exactly right. And so, if you don't get any other takeaway than this, it is to no longer listen to anybody's mission statement, even among our own people. Don't listen to anybody's mission statement. Look at their outcomes. And I'm going to try not to get I'm going to talk kind of in code. And this is in code about our own people, but I don't want anybody coming and freaking attacking the crap out of me. But even some of our so-called pro-Black leaders, they say a whole bunch. They talk a good fight. They say what you want to hear. Take a look at their outcomes. Take a look at their outcomes. Are there outcomes that they're getting richer and richer Are there outcomes that, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, but there's something wrong with it if you're using our people as a come up and you're not really in the fight for the fight. But if you're in the fight for the fight and you're coming up, that's actually a beautiful thing to me. But the point becomes, look at their outcomes. Are they enriching themselves and building their own popularity to use on their self while handing you a bunch of symbolism? And make no mistake, as a separatist, I am all about separating from this system. And so anyone, as far as I'm concerned, if you're not talking about separating, then you're not talking. Anything that you're telling our people that has to do with, we need to get reparations so we can participate in the American dream. We need to get reparations. And now, if you're saying we need to get reparations so we can separate, so that we can have the resources to separate, which to that I would say we need to be like, we need to separate whether we get reparations or not. Reparations are owed. They're definitely only a fool would say that reparations are not owed to our people. Whether we get them or not is another subject, but they are definitely owed. But that said, what is your purpose for wanting to get them? Is it so that you can weave yourself more deeply into this corruption? Or is it to have another resource to be able to get the heck away from it? And it needs to be, I think, of course, this is just my opinion, but it needs to be like a person in any abusive relationship who is fed up enough that they're like, you know what? I'm the one who built this house. I'm the one who bought this car. I'm the one who's been cooking dinner. I'm the one that's been going to work. I'm the one that's been doing all this. Peace to you, Empress Goddess. Grand rising to you. I'm the one who's been doing all this. And now we're breaking up and you want to just try to keep everything? No, I want my stuff. At some point, when you're tired enough of the abuser, then you're going to at some point say, you know what? You can keep the house, you can keep the car, you can keep all the junk that's in it, the house, not the car, but yeah, the car too. You can keep the freaking cat. I'm out of here. I'm out. Because if you're trying and trying and trying to get your stuff back, that keeps you connected to the abuser. And we all know that in terms of, and different people believe different ways on this, but when it comes to metaphysics and it comes to energy, these people don't care how they get our energy. They just want the energy, whether it's positive energy or negative energy. Take the metaphysics out and just go to straight psychology. People say that, psychologists say that people who act out, children who act out, adults who act out and get negative, they're getting negative feedback or whatever, they would rather have negative feedback than no feedback at all. And that's why I say the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference. Nobody wants to be treated like they're nothing. No one wants to be marginalized. No one wants to disappear. And so when it comes to the oppressor, they want that energy no matter how they get it. And we're steady giving it to them. Viewing YT. for our overall well-being, we've got to strive for separation. After all these generations, and also understand the wait a minute, after all these generations, and also understanding human nature, there's no reason to believe things will change. Absolutely, absolutely. They won't change. Empress Goddess, energy vampires. Hell, money is energy. Oh, hell, money is energy. True, 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 true. True, 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 true. And so while we, you know, they, believe it or not, and think about this for a moment. Like, say someone like a Darren or Derek Chauvin, whoever it was, went to prison, and then we're out in the streets celebrating. We're, we're having parties in the streets where we got Benjamin Crump standing at Benjamin Crump. Lord have mercy upon me, standing in front of a mic talking about this or that, about da. Do you realize that even though it seems like the celebration is ours, that we're releasing all this energy? And where is that energy going? They're still living off our energy, even though it seems negative. Again, going back to what Brother Z was talking about. And again, this is like my fourth or fifth time saying, but that brother said in 2.5 minutes what it takes me 2.5 hours to say. He's like, we do all this celebrating and their systems are 100% still in place. They have this succession figured out. When one goes down, another one pops. Right, it's like playing freaking whack-a-mole, and we're playing it with. And the separation is the key for our people. Somehow we have it in our minds that we can, and in the comment section, anybody who might hear this after I finish this live stream, and anyone who might hear this after, if you can stand to listen to it long enough, just answer this for me. You have someone who put a system in place on purpose, with purpose, to F you over. I mean, that was their purpose for the thing, was to F you over. And they benefit from it. They benefit from it nonstop, continue to benefit from it. And yet we have it stuck deep in our minds that this is who we need to go to get remedy. I say it every time and I'll say it again. That's like the freaking mice coming to me and saying, Iyapo, my kinsmen are being killed in all these mouse traps that you have set up around here. Your system is totally broken. You need to fix this. You need to fix this because we're dying out here. And all I do is like look at the mouse like it's freaking crazy. Are you freaking crazy? What's the matter with that? That's why I put them down there, was to kill your mouse asses. And it's working very well, thank you. For me, it's working perfectly for me. Every morning, I take 20 of you out to the frickin' garbage can. And you're coming up to me, we demand that you get rid of these mouse traps. Or else what? Who gonna check me, boo? Or else, okay, mouse. You're gonna You know, or else what? What are you gonna do to me? Well, we won't support you anymore, dude. I've been doing everything in my power to get you out of my face. So you're gonna threaten me with not, and what I'm equating that to is, our people go out marching and talking about how our votes are being suppressed. And then the threat that we give to the politicians is, I'm going to punish you by not giving you the vote that you're trying to keep me from making. Make it make sense to me, not anybody else. I'll make it easy for you. Don't even make it make sense. Try to make it make sense to anybody else. Just try to make it make sense to me so that I can understand it. I see it all. I see you out here. Okay, we separate. And where's the protection? Any weapons manufacturers? I get it. I hear this stuff all the time. That has zero to do with it. I watched this. How does this separation work? We all buy land with their money and their print, use their own land deeds systems that they can control. How does it work? Have you thought about how it works? I think about it every freaking day. I haven't given up and just said, oh well, we can't fight the white man, so we may as well go on and start begging the people who are effing us up and design the system to F us up to do what they're supposed to do. So don't get me triggered, because they see, and you know what, I apologize to you, because that's a problem that our people seem to have, and I literally just fell into it. We get triggered too easy. You're asking a question, and actually what you're asking are legitimate questions. And to be honest, I don't have it all figured out. I don't have it all figured out. And those are legitimate questions. It's like people saying, well, we need to separate and leave the United States. Well, some people are invalids, some people don't have the resources, and some people, and that's understood. Those are real world issues. Those are real world issues. So again, you know, I see it all. I apologize, because that was because stuff like that triggers me. But it was a legit. They're legitimate questions. They're legitimate concerns. But I'll say this, and it's just I know it's just a movie. I quote movies a lot, or I'll reference movies a lot. In the movie Lost in Space, that some people liked, some people didn't. Not the HBO one, but the one that came out over a decade ago. There's a scene in the movie where the ship is heading toward the sun, and the pilot looks at the scientist who created the ship, and they're heading toward the sun. It's unavoidable. And he says that the only solution is to basically hit the metal, put the pedal to the metal and create a wormhole and go through. And the scientist says, yeah, but we could end up anywhere. And the pilot says, yeah, anywhere but here. He didn't have all the permutations figured out. He didn't have it all understood. He didn't know where they were going to end up. He just knew that where they were, they were going to die. That's all he knew. Everything else was an unknown. But he knew for sure that if they stayed where they were going to die. And that's actually how I look at it. Is, no, I don't understand all of how to fix it. I don't understand all of how it works. I just know for a fact that where we are and what we're doing cannot work. Cannot. Cannot. I see it all. I didn't say not to fight. It just sounds like talk to me. I've been hearing this separation talk for years without any real concrete plans to carry it out. Um, it probably won't be an immediate thing, but we have to be weaned off their society and culture slowly. Short. Oh yeah, absolutely. That is absolutely correct. And that's the thing. Don't get me wrong. When I'm talking, I often have this discussion with my wife, but I may be in, say, Georgia, and say, we need to get to California, or vice versa, because California coast is irradiated. We might be in California, say, we need to get to Georgia, and then it would be like someone saying, well, how are you going to get there? You're going to walk. You're going to fly. You're going to use a car. How are you going to pay for gas? How are you going to this? How are you going to that? Which are legitimate questions, but the idea is, first, before you can even address something, you have to understand that you need to do it. You have to cement in your mind that you need to do it. So if I'm in California and I'm like, darn, dude, California is irradiated, and which the whole world is, but that's another story. But California, the coast of California is irradiated. I need to get over here to get over to Georgia. That already portends that somehow you have to get there, and yes, you have to work out how to get there, even if you just start walking at first. Even if you just start walking at first, until you continue to figure it out. The whole point is to get moving away from it. And I see you in here, Cap. Hold on just a second. Let me go back to your comment. Oh, salute, brother Iyapo. I didn't know you were live. Peace and blessings. Yeah, I just went on here. So that, I guess we've all heard of analysis paralysis, which is just when you know that you need to do something, but you're paralyzed by the questions about what to do or how to do it. You're constantly gathering information, and trying to figure out to do it or how to do it. Well, at some point, you can just start walking. And a lot of things that I do, me personally, and I don't suggest this to anybody because I don't think it's the best course of action. But there's sometimes that you have to like ride the bicycle while you're building it. But if there's a monster coming after you, if there's a monster coming after you, are you going to stand and say, or a kaiju, and it's coming right toward you? You're going to be like, where do I run? How, what kind of a plan do I need to get out of, no, you're just going to start freaking running. And you might run straight into another kaiju. Who knows? But all you know is that you're trying to get away from the one that you know about. And you're like, screw this, screw the fact that I don't know where I'm going. What I do, take what you do know. I do know that this one is going to stomp me if I don't move. That's what I do know. So I need to start moving away from it. And as I'm moving away from it, I'll be scanning the terrain so that I can get an idea of what to do and where to go while I'm getting away from it. Empress Goddess, it's not that easy. We're too ingrained in the system. They have all the weapons, the armed forces, resources. Hold on, it just moved up on me. Resources about you. Let's see. Oh, and know about you, and know about, and you cannot get away from the system. Eh, that's a that's that's true. That's true in this way. I wish my wife was sitting here with me, because she is so clear minded on these type of nuances that it's helpful for me whenever I talk to them. Let's see, viewing YT, we should start with the basics of food, water, clothing, housing provisions. Note more Black people are exploring, engaging in gardening. Also, they're the highest increase of gun ownership among, uh, also, there's the highest increase of gun ownership among Black people. Viewing YouTube, we have to learn the mistakes of the past. Tulsa wasn't protected. We need weapons, manufacturers, and sources of natural energy. Okay, now what I'm about to say might sound contradictory to everything that I've been saying, and I agree with you. Viewing YT, I see where you're coming from, but the truth of it is, you as Black people, we cannot we cannot out savage these oppressors, and that's just the truth of it. Everything they got was by being brutes, barbarians, and savages and bullies. And Black people do not have not one nuke, nor will we ever probably develop one, because we don't think in those terms. We just don't think in those terms. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I'm saying that as a great thing. We're just not demons like that. We're constantly seeking peace. But the truth of it is, if we were to create another Black Wall Street or Rosewood or whatever, they freaking nuke it before they let us have it. And I know this sounds like I'm contradicting everything that I've just been saying. They freaking drone strike it. You can go and get all the guns and rifles in the world, and it's not going to help you against some unmanned things that are coming at you, dropping bombs on you. And that's just the truth of it. So again, like I said, I don't know the answer. I don't know how, and I don't claim to. I just know I just know what we have to do. And the one of the very first things that we have to do is to get our minds right. I'll tell this story, and then I'm gonna get off. About to go walk on the beach. What When I was in the military, we had a formation. Every morning you have formation when you're in the military. You know that. And my boots weren't polished to a high shine. They were polished. Excuse me. They were polished, but they weren't polished to a high shine. And one of the drill instructors came and looked at my boots and looked at the boots of some of the others. And they said, we want, and said, you, and I was one of them. We want you down standing at our office at 5 o'clock no, it wasn't even 5. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning to have special training in polishing your boots. And this is like an hour before everybody else had to get up. And you're going to have this special training for 2 weeks. And you will be at our front door at 4 o'clock. And you'll be doing this special training for an hour. which means the special training would include polishing boots, cleaning up, picking up cigarette butts, blah, blah, blah. And after formation was over, there's this older guy named McCrae, and he was, and I still remember his name to this day, his last name, because we only went by last name. McCrae came up to me and he said, don't go there in the morning. And I was like, what? And see, McCrae, here's the thing. McCrae was an older guy, and he had been through basic training before. He re-enlisted. He re-enlisted back into the military after he had been out. And this was like, for me, it was like 30 years ago, something like that. And he said, yeah, don't you go there at 4:00. And I said, well, if I don't, then I'll get in trouble, and I'll get I could probably get an Article 15 or something for that. That's those who are in the military know what that is. And he said, no, you won't. And what he told me after that was so important. He said, if you go down there, then they're going to know who you are and remember who you are. But if you don't go, they're not going to remember. I promise you, they're not going to remember you. So that night I went to sleep, and I woke up that morning. It was like 3:30 or 3:45, and I went on and stayed in my bunk. 4:00 passed, 4:30, 5:00. I was out at formation. All these other guys had gone down there, and I didn't go. And the drill sergeants were walking back and forth, and I'm like, bro, they're gonna get me, and I'm gonna be even in more trouble. And nothing happened. Nothing ever happened. And the way that McCrae explained it to me was that they want us to think that they're superhuman. They wanted us recruits to think that the drill sergeants were somehow superhuman or had some kind of insight or powers that we didn't have. He's like they're just men like you and me. They don't have memories like that. And I never ever forgot that. And I said all that to say that that's what they want us to believe. That's what this system of white supremacy wants us to believe, is that they are so powerful and unbeatable, and we are so powerless. We cannot beat them using their tools. We cannot beat them at their own game. We absolutely cannot beat them from within their own system. And truth to tell, we shouldn't even be trying to beat them at all, because there's nothing to beat. This isn't a game that somebody's trying to win. Well, maybe for them it is, but this isn't a game to be won or lost. This is about just getting away from them. And I have in my life come across many women, my mother being one of them, who were in abusive relationships. And at some point, they were like, I got to get away from this man. This man's cheating on me. He's a drug addict, or he's beating me, or whatever, especially if they're beating you or hurting your children or whatever. And they're not, the abuser tends to tell you, you're fat, you're ugly, nobody else is going to want you. You can't make it without me. You don't even know how to make money. I'm the one that brings the money in. You'll be out on the street. You'll be in a shelter. Or to the extreme of, you try to leave me and I'll kill you. And I have seen many of these women, my mother being one of them, who left. And they're like, if you're gonna kill me, you're just gonna kill me, but I'm getting away from your ass. If I end up in a shelter, I'm getting away from your ass. If I end up on the street with nothing to eat in the cold on a bench, I'm getting away from your ass. Because that's better than being with you. Anything is better than being with you. And I think that at some point, thank you, Cap. I see you in there. In viewing YT, they are not gods. They are not omnipotent or omniscient. They can be beat. They can and will, I believe, lose. And I'll even present this to you. We don't even have to fight them. And I mean that. We don't even have to fight them because they have created a system that is not sustainable. And they know it's not sustainable. They know it. You can't. When you get a chance, I have a video up here on YouTube. It's called SOWS, which is System of White Supremacy versus Nature. And Angela and I are always talking about the fact that you can look on a city street, you can look in your driveway that's like covered with cement or asphalt or whatever, and there's always grass forcing its way to the top. Always. And depending on what kind of neighborhood you live in, this is one of these suburban neighborhoods where everybody's lawns look the same, and you look down the road and all the houses look the same, and everybody's out mowing their grass and all that. You watch these people, and every weekend they're spraying Roundup or they're spraying some Ortho Grow or what, something to try to kill weeds and blah, 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 blah. And they're doing this every freaking week. And you know why? Because if you leave it alone, it's going to grow the way that nature intends for it to grow. When you look and you see this concrete, you're like, oh man, that's freaking cement. And you have these blades of grass that look like they're weak, and they're pushing up through the cement. Peace 34 Jazzy, I see you. Grand rising to you, pushing up through the cement. And you would think, oh, this is just weak grass. How's this even work? That you have like these weak blades of grass and these weak weeds and dandelions pushing up through cement. And it's because the cement is not natural. Everything else in nature is trying to just take its course. My beautiful wife just walked in. Okay. I'm basically just talking about
Sal's
versus nature. Yeah, right now. And Brother Z had done the video, and he was talking about celebrating the Queen, and just basically how we're always talking about we do all this celebrating behind stuff, and the system's always firmly in place, which is exactly what he was talking about.
Absolutely.
And like he said, or like I said at the beginning, he said in 2.5 minutes what it takes me 2.5 hours to say, because I'm long-winded, and you know that.
Yeah.
So, but I'll just be up here before you just for a minute.
I thought you were doing your book interview.
No, and that's the thing. I haven't really even pushed my book because I don't think about it that often because Well, in this, you know me. I'm truly about our people. I'm not trying to be famous. I'm trying to make money. Yeah, I want people to buy my book, but I'm really about our people. And there's people up in here who are making good points. I got triggered at one point, and someone was just asking a legitimate question, and I
It'll
freaking got
happen.
triggered on them.
It'll
Yeah,
happen.
but
It'll
but
happen.
but the questions they were asking were legitimate. Because when I'm talking about separating, they were like, "Well, what does this separation look like? How do you do it? How do you know what?" Because they've been hearing for years about separating, but nobody's giving any solutions. So what's the solution? And that is a legitimate thing to say.
Yes, it is. It's a legitimate question, and
Right.
I think that when too many of us start figuring out how to separate, there'll be a response from the system. But I
Mhm.
think in the interim, at this moment, each of us are kind of figuring out how to separate in various ways, in small ways and big ways.
Right.
Um, you know, if you think about the cracks of grass or nature coming up through the cement, that's kind of how our separation can look. Sometimes, the system of white supremacy is just like a demolished ruin around us with nature free. And sometimes it's like, we look like a whole concrete thing with just a little bit of nature peeking through. But that's
Right.
how our separation can be big or small and little, So, yeah.
Right. And that's the thing. I guess I guess my whole thing is that before you can even start to do a thing, you have to cement in your mind that that's what you want to do. And the
Mm.
thing is, it's like I said about my ex-wife. She was gone way before she left me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how people are with jobs too. They don't just like, well, sometimes they do get up and say I quit, but actually they left that job long before they were gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's all I'm trying to, I guess that's what I'm trying to get at is like when a person is about to leave their job, they're thinking of things like, well, how am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to eat? How am I going to
Mm-hmm.
take care of my children if I have them? How am I going to, do pay my car note and so on and so forth? And those are legitimate questions.
Those are
Because
legitimate
yeah,
questions.
somebody could say, well, you just need to quit that job if you hate it so much.
Just
Yeah,
leave.
yeah, no, yeah, you can't just leave because you're attached to it. But I guarantee you this much: if you cement in your mind, I'm getting the f out of here, then in time, as the time goes by, you're going to be figuring out how to get the f out of there.
Right. I think that's one approach, and I think some people are like that. And I think some people are like, I'm getting the F out of here, and they leave and they figure it out once they leave.
Yeah, that would be
And
me.
yeah, and I think, different approaches are valid. And also, I think in terms of if you cement in your mind that you're leaving, then you're going to figure it out. I think that that's one approach, but another approach I think to entertain or for some people might be to figure out in your mind that um, instead of figuring out that I'm leaving, figuring out what I want, not what I'm letting go of, but what I'm embracing.
Mm-hmm.
So, how can I love myself more? How can I love my people more? How can I be in alignment with God and good more? How can I, connect with the truth of who I am more?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, as I have connected more and more with myself, I separated from bull without even consciously trying to separate from bull. I separated from stuff that wasn't real without even consciously trying to separate from things that were real. And then I looked up over time and I was kind of detached from certain things
Mm-hmm.
because I had been focused on attaching to loving myself and attaching to being whole and comfortable with myself and loving my people and connecting with what's true and right and just.
Right.
So I think,
That's exactly it. Viewing YT said, yes, the changes can be incremental. For me, I've always started culturally separating,
mm-hmm,
stopped celebrating their holidays,
mm-hmm,
engaging with their entertainments, sports leagues, started buying what I can, black owned,
mm-hmm,
produced slowly but surely. And I guess that's what we're talking about
mm-hmm.
because it's true. You can't just sometimes you can't just go from 100 to zero. You have to slow it down, even if it's just a little at a time. I
And I think it's the orientation. That's what I'm getting from that too. It's the orientation.
right.
Instead of being oriented to I'm separating from you, it's being oriented to I'm integrating and connecting
With me, right.
Yeah, with me and mine.
And
So,
I see it also as I pay attention to what this is who I got triggered with, and they was just asking a legitimate freaking question. So that's that. Yeah, right. So that's something I need to pay attention to. It is, I don't need to let stuff trigger me. And again, I'll say this one last time: his or her, and I apologize if I'm getting it wrong, but his or her questions were just legitimate questions. Like, okay, how you do it? Anyway, says I pay attention to the World Economic Forum, the new power structure. Majority of countries are taking their orders from the World Economic Forum. The one world government plans are getting closer, which is true, to completion. Um, and that's true. I did a live stream, and it's private, but I did a live stream. I was doing a little bit of a rant, but this whole you'll own nothing and be happy thing. Even when you look at a lot of because I do graphics and I write and so on, and even when you look at the business models that they're using for a lot of the graphics, they make it so that like 10 years ago you could go out and buy the program and you own it, and if something happens you can just keep loading it and reloading it or load it onto a different system if you got a new system. But now they've gone to these subscription services that basically means that you no longer can own the software, you can only rent it. And if you make your livelihood using these softwares, then you have to pay them every month for the same thing that you just bought as a one shot before. Or whereas you used to be able to go out and buy DVDs and Blu-rays and back in the day video tapes and so on, laser discs,
which I learned about from you.
Now everything's going to Netflix, Disney Plus, but you have to stream it. So if you want to watch the movie over and over again, as I do, some people only want to see something once, but I watch some over and over. If I watch, say, I don't know, Avengers, the first Avengers movie, and then I want to see it again, but I don't own Disney Plus, then I have to keep renting it from them, which I have my movies, so they have it where you can put the digital, but even the digital license runs out.
Right, because I was going to say, you told me that there are some items that you have purchased that you own, or as we understand owning, and that when you went to access them, you weren't able to access things that you own.
Right.
And so that's kind of like an interesting concept as well.
Right.
But yeah, I guess as I'm talking, I'm thinking about ownership, and I'm thinking about the enslavement of Black people, and just like this idea of own. And I think that rent is an offshoot of that. But for some reason, it was just kind of like ringing in my ears now that this idea of owning stuff.
Right. And everything in their system is created to enslave you. Every single thing in this system is created to enslave you. And even paying rent, turning people from owners to renters
is about enslavement.
Is enslaving you, making it so that you have genetically altered this corn so that the corn can no longer reproduce itself.
Corn and other seeds.
And then making it illegal for the farmers to use anything other than what you're selling them is another way to enslave you.
Right.
They got a million and 8 ways.
Jazzy. Yes, this is exactly where I'm at in my life when it comes to my health and how I view this world with all these terrible chemicals in food, skin products, clothes, and everything.
Right. Right. It's a mess.
And that, like, we talk about enslavement a little bit, but that's part of it too. We were talking about yesterday the children and separating from this food system, or and that if you don't, I don't remember what we got to talking about, but we were like, yeah, then the babies, we putting them on what's that formula? Not breast milk, but you put them on formula,
Right.
and they get hooked on it very early, and then they're attached to the processed foods, the ultra processed foods from birth, and then you're gonna need dialysis, you're gonna need this, you're gonna need that, because that's part of their process. And yeah, separating from that is very important. Letting that go, moving on, and staying as close to things natural as you can.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And that's
most content now: movies, video games, music. Yep, housing, renting with housing. That's viewing YT. The corn thing, farmers sign on to these agreements to use those certain things. Yeah, but there was a thing, I read this story years ago. Some of these farmers didn't sign on to it, and they were kind of forcing it, or they tricked them, because they're likely to trick people. And then there's also the thing with corn. I realized when I tried to grow and have a little garden, is that corn fertilizes through the air, and so if you have a non-GMO and then your neighbor has GMO, there was something where these companies were suing people because the air had blown their BS contaminated seeds in, or pollen into the people who had not purchased or chosen to participate or been tricked into participating in their BS. They were suing them for having stolen their technology when the air blew it around. Owning property will be hard to retain some big hedge funds like BlackRock.
Right. Like BlackRock is purchasing 800 houses per month. And that's what we were talking about the other day, when you have like regular people cannot afford to purchase homes anymore, because you can have a shack. And I've seen many stories of this occurring. You have people trying to buy just a modest piece of crap house that's just obviously a piece of crap, and the asking price is like $200,000, and just to get a place, the people are willing to pay $200,000, and then you have some place like BlackRock will swoop in, and they'll pay 400 exactly.
Normal person.
Yeah, so at crazy prices above asking, so that you can't get it, because they know they're going to make their money back, because they're going to buy up all the property, and then everybody's going to be forced to rent from them.
Yeah, but I think kind of stepping back from the trees and kind of looking back at the forest again, for me at least at the moment, is this idea that I think that renting and owning is a European concept or a capitalist concept or a non-natural concept.
Right.
And us trying to buy in, I just want to own a little piece of property. The system needs to come down. So anything that we're doing to participate in it is perpetuating, supporting, augmenting the system.
Right.
So they got us, and that's how they do it. They get us to buy into something, and then before you know it, you're agent of white supremacy.
Right.
You're perpetuating their system. You're helping to maintain their system.
Right.
You're fighting to be a part of their system. I just want my little piece of land, and I don't have enough. I just have this feeling that that's part of the BS. That's part of connecting us, tied into something that's keeping us tied into something that's not real and true and good and God.
I absolutely agree. I don't think that there should be, and I mean, no, I don't know how I personally don't know how we would arrive at this, but I don't believe in this owning or renting property. There are people, what was that mountain country that they went in, where it was just all this lush stuff and people were living.
I don't know. I think it's like maybe Tibet or something, where people were happy.
Right. Right. And they didn't consider themselves like, I own this property. They're just on it. They were just on it.
And I think that's been the way that the world has been before. I just don't know enough about history. I think this idea of ownership and renting by extension is
some European crap.
Yeah, I think it's new to this system. Somebody said they are working on controlling all of the crops, food, land, homes, mines.
Yeah,
they're working on controlling everything.
Yeah, I see it all said that. And
we are free. We are free. We are free.
And
our minds are free. Our hearts are free. Our bodies are free. We are free.
But that's the thing. That's the thing. It can seem it can definitely be and seem overwhelming.
It is,
I
yes.
get overwhelmed by it. I'm like, brother.
That's why I just sent that
The-
affirmation to all of
right,
us.
I
We
understand.
are free.
Yeah,
We
I
are
understand.
free. Because it is.
Right.
It's like evil. It's like it's intense.
It's right. It's so ubiquitous.
But at the same time,
like plastic.
Like plastic. If you try to get away from plastic, which I've done, it's pretty intense.
Right. What's this?
Plastic. Right. It's like in the States, I used to be able to find glass spray jars, but even that was challenging.
Right.
But getting away from plastic is ubiquitous. And plastic to me is like a poison. It's like a little poison that just, gets in the water and gets in your system, gets in the chemical, how cosmetic products you use, and gets in the water, but yeah.
It is. I will just say this though.
Free.
I will just say this. I hear a lot, and I've been one to say it too. And whether it's a relationship or job or even your life or whatever, I've heard a lot of people, and again, I've been one of them, who will say, I can't do this, that, or the other. And it may be true. I can't just up and do this or that or the other. And what I started saying, well, what can you do?
Mm-hmm.
And whatever you can do that.
Mm.
I can't run 5 miles. Well, can you walk 5 feet? Do that. I can't walk 10 blocks. Well, can you walk 10 feet? Do that. Can you walk 3 feet? Do that. Do whatever you can to get moving. Like the saying goes, I got to push a little bit to make it go. But then you get it going. So to bring this all the way full circle before I shut off, I was responding to Brother Z. Go to Brother Z's channel, 25,000 Year Cycle, and also the website. He just had the particular video, "The Queen is Dead, Long Live the Queen," or the King, and he was just explaining about the way that our people we're celebrating and so on. And he was saying, their power structure is still in place, and they have it designed so that it just stays in place.
Now,
for me, the only solution is to get away from it. To get away from it, however you can get away from it, in whatever way you can get it. And I don't mean, but the thing is, some people choose to get away from it by I'm trying to figure out a way to say it, by doing things against our people. I'm not talking about that. I'm not saying that just in every way, whether it's legal, illegal, or hurts our people, or I'm not talking about that. I'm saying anything that edifies you, anything that edifies our people, anything that builds you up, anything that builds our people up, move in that direction. Move in that direction, even if it's only one step a day. One step. How do you get? I had said this yesterday, and how do you get to Mount Olympus? Make sure that every step you take is toward Mount Olympus. However you get there, you get there. So
Mount Kilimanjaro.
Mount Kilimanjaro. I know Angela corrects me on that.
No, I just try to affirm something African as
right,
opposed to something European. And I looked up Mount Olympus, and it is a real mountain as well as a mythical mountain.
Fair enough. How do you get to Mount Kilimanjaro? You make sure that every step you take is toward Mount Kilimanjaro. And
if you fall off track or get distracted, just start again.
Exactly. When I dropped weight, it was in fits and starts. I'm like 80 pounds lighter now, But I could keep going. We get ready to head over to the beach. We get ready to head to the beach, right? Or is it too late?
It's too late for me. It's time for me to. I got clients to see.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go run over to the beach real quick. But I just wanted to say that and leave you with this one piece of advice. Every morning, if you're having trouble sleeping, because I used to, Angela will tell you, I used to uh, take what ZQL to get to sleep sometime. Uh, Now, if you want to get to sleep first thing in the morning, go out and get some sunshine. And after I started doing that, I I I can't well I can't explain it. It was almost like magic. I heard somebody suggest it on YouTube, and it's like you got to go out and first thing in the morning get sunshine. And I would thank you 34 Jazzy. And I do. I go out and get sunshine, and I sleep so well at night now, and it it worked like magic, and it worked the first day that I did it, and it's been working ever since. So I make sure that I get out every morning, like I said, hit the beach or wherever, and get some sun. And so there's that. Also, I guess I'll plug my book. I wrote a novel. It's called Melanin. Melanin is it has like 2 reviews so far, and they're both 5-star reviews. Everyone who's read it and I've gotten feedback from said that it's an epic story. It's very informative, or wherever you can get it on Amazon. You're welcome, viewing YT. It, Even if I do say so myself, of course I'm going to say because I like it, but because I wrote it. But yeah, you can get Melanin on Amazon. It's just called Melanin the Novel, or you can type in my name, Iyapo Yapa, and it'll bring up my book. Um, it's in Kindle version, a soft cover version, and a hardcover version. So if you would check that out, it helps me in the move up in the rankings, because I wanted to be at number one. It has slipped back because it was in the top 100 for the longest time. Now it's starting to slip backward. So come on, we got to go on and get that thing back up to back into the top 100, and then finally the number one, which I'd have to move Octavia Butler out the way to get there, which would be no easy task. But there's that, and I also have a new story that I started on a platform called Kindle Vella. And Kindle Vella is a short form platform where people, where writers put their stories in episodes. It's like watching a television show, and the stories are only between 500 and 5,000 words long. That's their limit. So they're very short episodes, and they usually end on cliffhangers and so on. What'd you just do?
I was trying to put your
Oh,
email and
okay.
your website.
I'll send it in there. Thank you.
You can't type during the stream.
Yeah, I can.
Is a special way you have to type?
No, it was just set someplace different. But here, I'll put my website. I'm about to put my website in the link. It's iyapoyapa.com.
Were you talking about surviving the worst?
Yes, surviving the worst is the name of the. Oh, that's all right. Is the name of the story. And right now, episode 1 is put up. Episode 2 comes out on the 21st, and then episode 3 will be like a few days after that. And they're very short, easy reads. And I'm getting good feedback from that already. So here, let me put this in there. That's my website. Empress Goddess, I'm back. Was putting my dinner on. Okay, what time is it where you are? Well, you probably preparing it for later, so that's all good. That's smart. Hold on. I'm also going to put, let's see, I'm putting a link to Melanin, and I'm also going to put a link to Surviving the Worst.
And put a link to. Did you put your website in there?
Yeah, I did that first.
On the website, if you subscribe to the newsletter, which I do a weekly newsletter for the Black Writers Group, but Ayapo's newsletter for his readers is really beautiful and just it's a wonderful piece of literature. But you'll get a subscription to the. I think so. I mean, I know I'm biased
Thank you.
because I'm your wife, but you'll get a subscription to the newsletter. But you'll also get a free copy of a short story from I think it's Paradigm Boy,
Paradigm Boy.
called, which is a book that's not out yet, but we're working on editing it slowly but surely. But you'll also get a copy of the short story called Moenesis, the oak tree. Moenesis, the oak tree. Moenesis, with your branches, trunks, and leaves. I know I got the song wrong. But
no,
anyway,
you got it right.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But and so you from Melanin, from Surviving the Worst, from Moenesis, you can get a taste of the variety of subjects that Iyapo writes on, and a taste of his writing style. And two of the three are absolutely free, but Melanin is absolutely wonderful.
Right, and thank you for that.
Just pay me. Just
thank you for that unsolicited testimonial. And the reason that I'm trying to get done with this stream, but the reason that I write and Sister Ajali writes and others is that we are doing everything that we can to take control of our own narrative. Because in my opinion, for too long, we have had other people portraying us to us, and the portrayals are not flattering. The portrayals are not true. The portrayals are patently negative about our people, and we get it fed to us. And at some point, after watching this from the cradle, we start to internalize this crap and think that that's really us, and it's not. It isn't now, nor has it ever been us. Whatever it is that they're presenting us as is this fictitious thing that doesn't even exist except in their own minds, and to a degree in ours now. And so we write and we create and we bring forth as much content as we can to correct that and to show Black people as we are. The all the characters in our stories aren't perfect people, but when you read something like Melanin, you're not going to see a whole lot of dysfunction, even though I do have one massively dysfunctional character in there. But his dysfunction is shown in a way that I did it on purpose. Because as you look at this character, his name's Ryan. This isn't a spoiler. The character's name is Ryan. And everybody who reads Melanin says, this man is insane. He's a Black man. This man is insane. And it shows that pathology. And it shows that madness. But other than that, the Black people in the stories are I'll just say it again for one of better way to say it. They're not dysfunctional.
They're healthy. They're wholesome. They're natural, normal Black people.
Right. And so that's what is presented in that story. That's what's presented throughout my stories, even in something like Moenesis, where I won't give anything away, but the secondary character, because the main character in the story is the oak tree, but the secondary character is the little boy Kippy, who is Moenesis' best friend. It sounds like a children's story, but as you read it, you're going to find out it's anything but that. And he is a well-adjusted little black boy with a well-adjusted family, and just just when you go to my website, and I'll actually drop a link to it. Subscribe to the newsletter. The newsletter is 100% free. It comes out every month. Once you subscribe to it, you'll get a free download of Moanissus the Oak Tree to read. Everyone who has ever read that story, and there's been a lot of people, everyone who has ever read that story loves that story. And many say that it is that it's one of their favorite things that I've written. And this is from people who've read a lot of my work and said it's probably their favorite thing that I've written. My mother-in-law said, and it's not because she's just my mother-in-law, she said that story turned me into her favorite writer, just that story. And she said the first time that she read it, she posted, I think in our writers group, she said that when she read it that first time, she cried the rest of the day. She said she cried the rest of the day.
And other people have cried from Moanissus.
Yeah.
The newsletter is called Reading and Writing in the Dark. So the website iyapo.com is very data rich. Like there's a lot of stuff going on.
Right.
But subscribe to the newsletter or get your free copy of Moanissus the Oak Tree or Reading and Writing in the Dark. Look for those types of things.
Right. And so I'm about to give a hold on, I'm going to give a link to where you can subscribe to the newsletter.
And I think that in terms of while you're writing, in terms of what we read, in terms of what we write, that's also a part of that separation, because a lot of these things are, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but this system is, somebody's out there blowing their horn.
Right.
This system is designed to support and perpetuate itself. And so when we're telling our own stories and we're telling the truth as we see it, that's not about supporting the system of white supremacy. That's not about maintaining the South. That's about us being true and right and just and connecting with truth and righteousness and justice.
Right.
So that's, yeah. Okay.
Right. So, as often as I've been putting the acronym for system of white supremacy, how do you spell Sal?
I spell
like a
S-O-W,
pig.
like S-O-W.
So
that's why in that piece I wrote, I was like the sows, the damn sows.
Right. Right. That was the first time I realized that. I was like, brother, it's sows.
See.
Pigs.
See. Yeah.
System of white supremacy.
Now you ripping off me.
Right.
And see how
system of white supremacy. Sow. Pigs. It's long as I've been like saying that acronym for years,
right,
and never connected that.
But that's how it is. Different people see different things. That's why we need all of us,
right?
And any little bit of freedom and sense and connection with ourselves that we can get is a blessing to all of us. And we see each other and we need each other,
right?
So every little bit of work that we can do, every connection to God we can make is a blessing for all of us,
right?
Black us.
Empress Goddess, she says, I love it. There's nothing like a true black love, and a supporting spouse. Keep up the good work. Yeah, we love, honor, and respect each other.
It's hard work.
I know. I say it often.
What?
It's hard work.
Sometimes it is, but most of the time it's not. Very sweet. You're easy to love,
and you're easier to love, honey. And I mean that. So it's just the truth of it. Don't get me talking about my wife, because I will. You get diabetes just listening, because I love this. I love and adore this woman, and she is. I'm not a woman.
Oh, what this means.
But and we get into it sometimes.
Especially over them jokes like the one you just made. I'm about to fight right now.
But and that's the whole thing. Don't nobody agree on everything that comes out of somebody's mouth. Angela and I, we have stuff that we like seriously don't agree on or bump heads on. But that's the whole point, is just because you're not 100% in with somebody doesn't mean that you can't be 100% for them and with them, because it's her I'm for, it's her I'm with, it's me that she's for, and it's me that she's with, not every opinion that I have or every opinion she has. And so anyway, I dropped the link for my website. I dropped the link for melanin. Go on and purchase melanin. It's not to make me, it's not to make me rich, because I ain't gonna get rich off that book. At least not yet, because I think it's gonna be a bestseller once people start really reading it, because it's a powerful book, and it's very entertaining, and it's extremely thought provoking. I'm telling you, the thing is thought provoking.
Mm-hmm.
So I dropped the link to melanin. I dropped the link to um, Surviving the Worst. Surviving the Worst can be read on Kindle, on the Kindle Vella platform, for free. At least the first 3 episodes. I only have episode 1 up because I put episode 1 up yesterday, and then there's like you have to stagger them, and so episode 2 is already uploaded. I'll be uploading probably episode 3 probably sometime today or tomorrow. But episode 2 won't show up until the 21st anyway, and then episode 3 will be a few days after that. And those first 3 are free to read, and then the way Vela is set up on Amazon, then you can purchase tokens and keep reading it. It's not real expensive, but you can keep it, keep reading it. They'll give you an idea of the writing style. But something like Moenesis, the Oak Tree, if you, again, subscribe to my newsletter, and it's not like some little rinky dink one sheet, trying to sell my stuff. No, my newsletters I make them to be informative, and they're several pages long. I promote other Black writers in them, and it's absolutely free. Absolutely free. Just sign up, and it comes out on the first of every month, and you get your issue. What else with it? And you get you get the free Moenesis, the Oak Tree, and it keeps you up though on whatever I'm working on
and thinking about. And that's the thing I like about it. It's not just what you're working on, but it's your exploration of ideas. And
right.
Anyway, baby, let them people go.
Okay.
Go out into the world. Be blessed.
I will not let your people go. What do you think, you Moses? I will not let your people go.
Today is the best day ever. You are the greatest.
Oh, you just try to get me out of the way. Yo, you got clients getting ready to come in. Okay, and I need to go and get on the beach and get some sun. I genuinely love all of you, and I just thank you for dropping in. And Viewing YT signed up for the newsletter. Thank you.
Yeah, you're gonna love it.
Yay! And
I know you will love it.
And what I didn't mention, and Viewing YT, you should probably see it because it goes to you automatically. You will see that there are links to the back issues of the newsletter, so you can click on any one of those and get the back issue, and then the one that's coming out next month. You click on that, it'll just expand the cover of it. But of course, it isn't out yet because it's not the 1st of October. So that's about it. All you out there, go on and register. Get your copy of Melanin. Go and read Surviving the Worst, and definitely follow the story. Click to follow the story. Again, that helps me to move up. So click to follow the story, and leave a thumbs up for the story. And if you can, leave a comment on the story if you liked it. So that's about it. I'm going to finally let you go. My wife has to get to work.
Go out, be happy, be free, and just trust and believe that God has us, good has us, justice has us. It's all in divine order. We're doing our part, and we are winning. I like how Sister Ajali affirms that. We are already winning. It's already won.
We're
already
just
doing our part, and happiness and joy.
Right. That's it. That's it. I have nothing more to add. And I apologize to everybody for getting triggered, especially the person I got triggered. And that was messed up as I don't know what on my part. So I know that was still messed up. And so that's it. I'm getting ready to go get some sunset. No, of course not. But you know how I get. So let me let me go. This is ridiculous. Okay, I'm getting ready to go get some sunshine. And I will talk to you later. I'll let you know what the beach looks like, honey. Peace.
Peace.
And the broadcast. There we go.